Sorry about going MIA for a bit. Had some crimes to solve, but don't worry, I'm back. Let's waste no time other than the 12 seconds I did for this intro. Let's get right to it. Villisca, Iowa, June 9th, 1912. Late at night, around 10 p.m., the Moores were returning from an event for children at their local church. That includes Josiah the father, Sarah the mother, and their 4 children, Herman, Boyd, Paul, and Catherine. They were joined that night by Catherine's friends, Lena and Ina Stillinger. The next morning, the Moore's neighbor, Mary Peckham, was out at 5 a.m. hanging laundry. A couple hours later, Mary notices that the Moore's house is uncomfortably quiet. Mary then went over to check on the Moores and knocked on the door, and no one answered. Mary tried to open the door, but it was locked. Mary called up Josiah's brother, Ross, to come and check on his brother. Ross stepped into his brother's home to find that everyone inside had been murdered. Once he opened the door, he was greeted by the bodies, Lena and Ina Stillinger, murdered in their beds along with the rest of the family. Everyone's faces were mutilated. In one night, 8 people were murdered by an axe, and no one woke up to this. Shit, man, I don't blame him. My bed's comfy as fuck. During the investigation, police reported that all victims were killed in their sleep, except for one. Lena Stillinger. Her arm is positioned in a way to where it looks like she was blocking a swing. Weirdly enough, in the same room where the Stillinger girls were found, there was a slab of bacon wrapped in a towel on the floor. Guys, I got no explanation for this, but if me and my buddy somehow got into some bad raps and we murdered somebody, right? And before we leave the house, my buddy turns around and goes, bacon. I would know exactly what he meant. And that's my explanation for this. He's like, fuck it, it's gonna confuse him. Josiah and Sarah Moore were murdered first. In their bedroom, there was a mark in the ceiling from the axe, showing you just how much force he had in the swing. The crime scene gathered the attention of the small town, and the crowd began to gather around the house. Marshal Henry Horton told the Moore relatives, somebody was murdered in every bed. That has to be a serial killer bingo win. There's no way. The town marshal allowed people inside the house with the bodies still in their rooms. Bro, who is taking a tour of their dead neighbor's house with them still inside? Along with letting them hold the axe that the murderer used to kill them. Do you think this played a role as to why it's unsolved? Hours later at 12 p.m., Villisca National Guard arrived to secure the scene. Investigators found that there was no motive for robbery or why the Moore's family was targeted. Another weird thing is that all the bodies had a sheet over their head, and the mirrors and windows inside the house were all covered up. Some speculate that the killer did this so he didn't have to see himself or the crimes that he committed. I do this when I'm high sometimes. Even stranger, Josiah the father was killed with the sharp end of the axe. Everyone else was killed with the back end being bludgeoned to death. Leading to another theory is that there was a vendetta against the father and maybe he knew the killer. Dude's just trying to rank up his blunt weapon skill tree, that's it. In the kitchen, investigators found bloody footsteps in a meal cooked by the killer. This happens way too often. It's like the second story that has happened. Who thinks like, you know what? After I murdered a family, I need me a hearty meal. After eating breakfast, the killer left, took the keys, and locked the door behind him. Police began to theorize how the killer gained access to the home. Police said that the killer removed the screen of a window to get in, but lack of evidence made this theory false. A more plausible theory is that the killer was already inside the house, in the attic, lying and waiting for the Moores to go to bed. I'm telling you, we just remove attics, make it look like Minecraft, and that is 90% of murders gone. After that, the case went cold. Police could not find any leads for a suspect or any more clues. The house is now a tourist attraction and sits quietly at the end of the street. That's all I have for you guys today. I will see you all tomorrow at the same time in the same place. Stay safe, stay smart, and stay skeptical.